What if going out there and trying to find your passion is a bit of a nonsense? What if it doesn't work like that? And what if maybe there's a way better way of doing it by learning how your mind works, learning how your psyche works, understanding that, and using the mechanisms that are inside of it to just sort of mechanically create that in yourself and then find it in the world by returning to yourself and by doing it completely differently. What I'm going to talk about in this video is basically approaching the finding of your specific passion by going from the top down instead of trying to find the specific passion, and also a fractal method. I just called it that for the sake of this video, whereas you will learn how to actually practically approach this type of thing and how to practice finding your passion and then find it. This kind of stuff is very fundamental to what I learned over like 10, 15 years of getting into self-development and psychology and all that. Because, when I started, I realized that unless I understand how my mind works, unless I develop my intrapersonal intelligence, right, my ability to understand my own thoughts and emotions, unless I do that, I'll be severely limited, because I understood that I had motivational issues. I had issues of focusing. I had issues of prioritization, of setting goals, like psychologically being fully there, being confident, not insecure, all that stuff. And I realized that I have to resolve that stuff. That's why I got so interested in it. And, finding that passion in you and finding the passion in life is a big part of it, because why else do you live, right? You want to express yourself, you want to create something, you want to do something exciting, and this is an important element of it. Now, typically, the way that people are typically taught this kind of stuff is to go and find something outside of themselves, right? In other words, the situation that they're being introduced to is, well, there's a passion hiding somewhere in the world. Why don't you go and try to dig holes randomly and try to find it? Good luck. That's never sort of a vibe with me, because I always thought, isn't it something that has to sort of arise from you? And sure enough, I never had much success of finding that passion in me, even though I had, or in other words, all the passion that I had for life always came from me, at least from my experience, and not from outside of me. So when the advice of trying to find your passion somewhere out there, came up, I would always think that's a bit weird. And after spending many years like learning to train my mind, to regulate my emotions, to program myself, all that stuff, I do have to say that I think this is a bit of a approach that is put on the wrong side, basically. Instead, I would suggest doing something else, which is, think about this. I mean, if you're familiar with like Platonic ideals, it's kind of similar to that. There is a chair, which is like a specific item, right? A specific chair, a computer table chair or something like that. Okay, well, if you abstract that idea, there's the concept of a chair. If you just say a chair, it can be a million different things. And if you go up all the way up, the concept becomes the most abstract version of that thing that it can be, which is it's just a thing to sit on, and it can take million forms, million shapes, million sizes, and all of that. In other words, the more higher you go, the more abstract you get, whereas you get to the sort of ultimate abstraction of sort of infinity of ideas, right? For our purposes, and let's simplify this, you do want a specific passion. But when you think about it, what is a passion, right? A passion is a kind of a expression of your excitement, expression of your dedication, of your talents. Well, if you try to go up this sort of a scheme, right, and you try to go up when you think about your passion, you can start seeing certain areas of convergence. For example, you might think, well, I'm very passionate about sports, but I'm also passionate about painting, Or let's start with one area. I'm passionate about sports, but I'm passionate about boxing or whatever. Okay, I like swimming, I like the gym, I like boxing, I like tennis. Great. What do those things have in common? Well, at first you might go, well, I like the boxing for competitiveness. I like this for the... But if you list out the things that are in common between those things, you'll find commonalities, right? So you might say, I like tennis for competitiveness because it's like one-on-one mainly, and like box for competitiveness. So that excites me. It's like, well, okay. So in other words, you're excited by one thing. It's just expressed in two ways. One through, let's say, boxing, another through tennis. Well, okay. Then you might even go, okay, so there's these two sports, but I also like just like, I don't know, yoga, like sport-ish yoga, you know? Then you, why? Well, because I feel like my body, you know, gets relaxed, but also I get a nice workout, and after the workout, I always feel better. It's like, okay, but you feel that after a box workout, a tennis workout, and a yoga workout. It's like, oh, all of those are actually in common. Isn't that interesting? So do you see how the same thing can have a similar, a fundamental reason why you're doing it? Well, if you think about this, isn't it the same thing when you consider your passions? In other words, the passion that you are looking for, and if we know that, why don't we reverse engineer that? And I think that's a way better way of doing it. So if you consider what is your passion, you might say, well, I don't have a passion. It's like, okay, well, could you imagine a mid-level passion? Let's imagine you can't even imagine a mid-level passion, right? Just the more specific descriptions about your passion. Okay, could you imagine the most abstract idea of passion itself? This thing, right? The very top of it, which is, do you remember when you were a kid and you were just excited? That's it. That's all we're talking about. You're just excited. You're just like, yes, yeah. Do you remember that? Think about that. Remember that. Remember how that felt. Well, okay, since this channel is about interpersonal development, right? Interpersonal intelligence, and we're going to talk a lot about plenty of weird stuff, weird exercises, approaches that are unconventional but very effective. What if you try contemplating and replicating that type of state, right? Which is, if you're seriously into inner development, like you're probably familiar with meditations or active meditations or whatever. If not, I'll talk about them in some of these videos. If you want, you know, you can work with me. I can educate you more on that. What if you spend time in that state and start contemplating and sort of birthing more concrete, more specific descriptions of your passion? For example, like, maybe you're looking for a career as a passion. You're looking for a sport as a passion. Okay, well, what values in terms of work do you like? Do you like professionalism? Does that excite you? Do you like being very focused on one area, right? Do you like focusing on many things and making them, sort of operations, just taking care of a lot of things, that everything runs on time? Do you like interacting with people? Do you not like interacting with people? I know these things seem like kind of self-evident, but what I'm saying is, no, don't just think about it. Really get into that. First consider this idea, this abstraction, higher level abstraction, and then birth these more specific descriptors, and then only then get into the specific passion that you want for yourself. Okay? Do that, and you will have a solid foundation, a psychological foundation for selecting a specific passion, because you're starting from passion itself, from excitement itself, and getting down into it. Now, this is an unorthodox way of doing it, and it does require a bit of, I'd say, intermediate level of self-awareness and knowing how to work your mind and knowing how to navigate it and all that. But if you've done a bit of meditations and all that, you should be aware of how to do that. If you just do that, you'll start birthing it automatically, okay? Now, when I say automatically, we're going to get to the fractal method, the fractal approach to it. I just named it because I think has a nice ring to it. Why not? And it reveals a very interesting thing about your mind, which many people are not aware of, but if you try it out, you'll see. This is the typical, imagine, red boots, and think about red boots all day, then go for a walk in the city center, and you're going to notice red boots. Kind of similar to that, not exactly that. If you get into a state of passionate excitement through some contemplation meditation exercises, and then you go through life, you start getting used to being in that state. You know what will happen? You will start recognizing, first of all, you'll be approaching everything with the kind of a passion, which is good for you because you're sort of practicing your ability to be passionate, which is a whole topic in itself, which is, it's like, why are you searching for passion out there? Wouldn't it make sense to become a passionate person, right? If you become a more of a passionate person by focusing on that state itself, instead of begging for the world to give you something, you start giving to the world this kind of stuff because you are interpersonally intelligent. You know how to navigate your mind, how to regulate your emotions. If you do that, everything will start looking more exciting for you. And you know what? When you do something that excites you a bit, first of all, you'll be open to things exciting you. And when something excites you way more than something else, guess what? You will go, wait a second, that's very interesting. I might like this more than something else. You know what it is? This is a bit of a fractal method. Because what you're doing is you're finding the little things exciting about life. The little things. You're finding the little passion psychologically that you have. You're doing the thing in everyday job or whatever. You're finding the little thing that excites you. But if you are open to that excitement, to that passion, and you do the thing that excites you, you'll find the little thing, but you'll notice that in the little thing, there's a whole universe of excitement. In other words, you'll find the connections. You'll find, oh, I like this, but I also could imagine liking this and that and that and that. If you follow that network, you'll start at this sort of a 1 point. It'll converge into 2 points, into another 3 points, into 5 points, into 4 points, and so on and so forth. You'll start finding more and more things exciting. And very soon, you'll be getting into some specific outlets. You'll see, well, I find many things exciting now. I'm very interested in life in general right now. But now I'm starting to find that I really like this specific thing, or this specific thing, or this specific thing. You'll get into the specifics of it. That's the fractal approach. You're not trying to find the big thing immediately. You're trying to find the small things. You start with the smallest thing imaginable, which is excitement itself. You contemplate, you meditate on the fact that you're just excited with no attachments to anything. Then you go into the world. You work, you do things. You check your YouTubes or whatever. Then you try one hobby, try another hobby, try another thing, try watching a YouTube video about some other, process or sport or something. And then something hooks you in. It hooks you in because you already pre-stimulated yourself with this. You pre-selected this passion thing. And because of that, you're training your ability to be looking for passion, to be open for passion. And when the thing comes, you're passionately practicing it. Look how this is completely different from a typical way that a typical, Zerg is being taught, Zergs from StarCraft, or whatever, sorry. People are being taught that everything has to be handed down to you. That you have to be lucky to stumble upon some passion somewhere hidden in the forest, behind the trees. It's like, what do you mean? Just start creating passion. Create the passion inside yourself at the abstract level. You'll start getting into your value systems. What is important for you? What is important in a career? What is important in your relationships? What is important? Like, this can be applied, by the way, to many things, not just finding your passion. What kind of art form? Like, what do you like most? Do you like visuals? Do you like audio? Do you like intersection between those? And then you get into specific art forms. If art is what you're looking for, a passionate hobby art or job art, whatever. So that's how you approach this, and you utilize the fractal approach of finding the small things first and building on that. This is how, by the way, you reduce the tension and the effort and the stress around finding your passion. This is how you practice passion at small doses until you get ready to sort of fully commit to a big project. So you gradually build up your capacity. And I would say in general, you learn a very valuable lesson about your psyche, about your mind, is that it is very capable of birthing specific things from abstract ideas, right? So you start off with these abstract ideas and you birth a specific object, right? This is how your mind works. I mean, it works in many ways, but this is one way in which it works. And what you will find, the most magical thing about it, is that this can be done almost at a weird intuitive autopilot level. If you stay at this zone, right, getting into that, how does it, when was a kid, not just like specific things that you were doing, but how did it feel? Like, how did it feel to be excited? How did it feel to be interested in the thing that I'm doing? And you just stay on that without really begging for a result. You will naturally start seeing things come up in your mind. And then you just follow those. You just follow those. You keep cultivating that and you keep following those. So this is a bit of an unorthodox, but in my opinion, a way better way of approaching this whole passion question if you really want to approach it. It's a systematic way of doing it. It's a way more efficient way of doing it. So try this out. Let me know what you think about it. I think it's very interesting. Try this out. You'll get very interesting results from it. And of course, if you want some personal help while doing that, I do have coaching spots open, and I do have a free introductory session. If you want, just, join in, no strings attached, and we're going to talk about this. I'm going to walk you through this process. It's pretty exciting. So try it out. This is the next level shit, in my opinion. Very exciting.